You spent weeks, maybe months, grinding through a Propfirm challenge. You hit the profit target. You didn't blow the drawdown. You were disciplined, you were patient, you passed, and then, within a few weeks of getting that funded account, it was gone. If that's happened to you, you're not alone. In fact, based on what we see across the prop trading industry, the overwhelming majority of traders who pass challenges either blow their funded account within the first 30 days or never take a single trade. So what is going on? Why does the challenge feel manageable, but the funded account feels impossible? Today, we're going to get into the real reasons, and I mean the deep psychological, structural, and behavioral reasons why this happens. And more importantly, what you can actually do about it. Stay with me. This might be the most important trading video you watch this year. The challenge was not the real test. Let's start with a paradox. Most traders treat the challenge as the hard part and the funded account as the reward. But the reality is exactly backwards. The challenge is a controlled environment. It has a clear objective: hit a profit target, stay within drawdown. That's it. You know what success looks like, you know the rules, you're playing a defined game with a finish line. The funded account is different. There is no finish line. There is no single goal you're sprinting toward. Now you have to sustain performance indefinitely, and that's a completely different psychological challenge. Think of it like this. Running a 5K race with a clock is a challenge, but training consistently every single day for a year with no race on the calendar, no medal at the end, no crowd cheering, that's discipline. And discipline is a lot harder than motivation. The challenge gave you motivation. The funded account demands discipline. And most traders are not prepared for that transition. Now let's break down exactly why this happens, because there isn't just one reason. There are several, and they compound on top of each other. You trained yourself to pass, not to trade. Here's the first and probably most important reason. During the challenge, you modified your behavior to pass the evaluation, not to be a profitable long-term trader. And those two things are not always the same. When you're in the challenge phase, you are hyper-aware of the rules. You know your max daily loss, you know your overall drawdown limit, you know exactly how much profit you need. That awareness keeps you in check. You're almost trading scared, and sometimes scared trading looks a lot like disciplined trading. But here's the issue. You were responding to external constraints. The rules were the guardrails. You didn't necessarily build internal guardrails, personal discipline, a robust trading plan, consistent risk management that lives inside you, regardless of what the platform says. When you get the funded account, the rules are still there, but the psychological weight shifts. Now, instead of trying to win a prize, you're trying to protect something you already own. And that changes everything. There's a principle in behavioral psychology called the over-justification effect. It says that when you give someone an external reward for doing something, they can actually become less intrinsically motivated over time. The external reward becomes the reason they do the task, not genuine interest or internal drive. Prop traders fall into a version of this trap. They trade well during the challenge because of the external goal getting the account. Once they get it, that goal is gone. And if they don't have deep internal reasons for trading with discipline, performance falls apart. Ask yourself right now, why do you follow your risk management rules? Is it because the platform will cut you off if you don't? Or is it because you genuinely believe in protecting your capital as a foundational principle? If it's the first one, you're at risk, because the funded account doesn't cut you off fast enough for fear to be your only guardrail. The neuroscience of trading with consequence. Let's talk about money. Real money. Because even though it's the firm's capital at risk, your brain doesn't fully process it that way. When you're trading a challenge account, there's a psychological buffer. You paid for it, maybe a few $100s. If you fail, you lose the fee. That's real, but it's manageable. More importantly, your identity as a trader isn't fully on the line. You can buy another challenge. You can retry. When you get the funded account, something shifts in your nervous system. Now you have status. You have a title, funded trader. You've been selected. And now your brain starts working to protect that status, not just your capital. Neuroscience research on loss aversion tells us that losses feel roughly twice as painful as equivalent gains feel good. So a $1,000 loss on a funded account doesn't feel like missing out on a $1,000 gain. It feels much, much worse. And this asymmetry in how we feel losses versus gains can completely destroy a trader's edge. Here's how it plays out. You enter a trade, the trade goes against you slightly. Instead of cutting the loss at your predefined stop loss, your brain starts negotiating. Let me just see if it recovers. If I close now, I've locked in that loss, I'll give it a little more room, you move the stop loss. Or you remove it entirely. You're no longer trading your system, you're managing your emotions. And here's the cruel irony. During the challenge, your stop losses were sacred. You didn't move them. You let trades play out. Your discipline kept you safe. But the moment real status and real consequence entered the equation, that same discipline crumbled. The fix isn't to just be less emotional. That advice is useless. The fix is to build systems that make emotional interference structurally difficult. Preset your stop losses through your broker before you enter. Commit to a maximum number of trades per day. Use a checklist before every single trade. We'll come back to solutions at the end, but keep that in the back of your mind. The strategy that passed the challenge might not be built for longevity. Here's a dirty secret of Propfirm challenges. They are time limited. Most challenges give you anywhere from 2 weeks to 60 days to hit a 10% profit target while staying within a 5 to 10% drawdown. That structure rewards aggressive, high-conviction trading, and some traders pass not because they have a sustainable edge, but because they got lucky during a favorable window in the market. A few big wins in volatile conditions, an earnings season that went their way, a trend that happened to align with their bias. When they get the funded account and the market conditions shift, their strategy stops working. And they either double down trying to recapture those early wins, or they freeze up completely because they don't actually understand why they were profitable in the first place. This is the difference between a repeatable process and a lucky outcome. Both can look identical on a performance report, but only one of them survives contact with different market conditions. If you passed a challenge, I want you to honestly ask yourself this. Can you write down, in plain language, the exact criteria that must be met before you enter a trade? The specific timeframes you use, the specific conditions, the specific invalidation levels? Can you hand that to someone else and they would take the same trades you would? If you can't, if your trading is still intuition-based and you're pattern matching without a defined system, then you didn't really prove you have an edge. You proved you had an edge during one specific window of time? And that distinction matters enormously when you're on a funded account trying to sustain results. Funded accounts don't care about what you did during the challenge. The market doesn't care. The clock resets. And you need a strategy that works month after month, not just across a 2-week snapshot. The silent killer, scaling up the wrong way. Let's talk about position sizing. This is one of the most underrated reasons traders blow funded accounts, and it's almost never discussed. When you pass a challenge, you often get an account that's larger than what you practiced with. Maybe you challenged on a $50,000 account. Now you're funded at $50,000 or even scaled up. You're trading the same percentage risk, right? 1% per trade. It's fine. Except here's the problem. 1% of $50,000 is $500 per trade. When you were practicing on a demo account or a paper account, what was the actual dollar value per trade? Was it $500? Was it $50? For many traders, the numbers they were used to seeing move are much smaller than what they see on the funded account. And even though the math is identical, 1% is 1%, the human brain does not process percentages and dollar amounts the same way. Watching $500 disappear in a bad trade hits differently than watching $5 disappear. Dramatically differently. This causes one of two failure modes. First, the trader undertrades. They become so scared of the dollar amounts that they cut winners short and let losers run slightly longer. Their risk-reward ratio collapses. They're no longer executing their edge. Second, and this is arguably worse, the trader overrides the fear by sizing up. Instead of 1%, they go 2%, 3%. Because the trades feel meaningful now, they want bigger wins to justify the risk they feel they're taking emotionally. This is the path to a blown account in days. If you want to trade a funded account successfully, you need to have traded real money before even a small amount, at proportional risk to what you'll see on the funded account. Sim trading does not prepare your nervous system for real money. There is no shortcut here. I earned this, and why that mindset destroys traders. This one is uncomfortable to talk about, but it's real. And if you've been in this situation, you'll recognize it immediately. When you pass a challenge, you feel like you earned it. You did earn it. You worked hard, you were disciplined, you proved yourself. That's real. But the mindset of, I earned this, can morph into something dangerous very quickly. It starts to sound like, I earned this account, so I deserve to make money on it. This trade has to work. I've been grinding for months. I gave up so much to get here, the market owes me. The market owes you nothing. The market doesn't know you passed a challenge. The market doesn't care about your sacrifice. And the moment you start trading with a sense of entitlement, trading emotionally to recapture what you feel you deserve, you are not trading anymore. You are gambling with a story. This shows up in revenge trading after a loss, in holding losing trades past your stop because this one should have worked, in refusing to take a day off when you're down because you have to make it back today. These are all entitlement patterns. They feel like determination. They are destruction. The traders who sustain funded accounts treat every single trading day as a new exercise in executing a process, not as a battle they need to win, not as a debt to be collected, a process to be executed. And some days, executing the process means sitting on your hands and taking 0 trades. You had a challenge routine. Do you have a funded account routine? Here's a question I want you to sit with. When you were grinding through the challenge, did you have a daily routine? Did you prep the night before, mark out key levels, check the economic calendar, define your setups before the session opened? Probably yes. Because you were locked in, the goal was clear, you were hungry, now you have the funded account. Some of that urgency is gone. The morning prep gets a little looser. You start taking trades you wouldn't have taken during the challenge because you're not in performance mode the same way. You react to the market instead of preparing for it. Routine is one of the most undervalued performance tools in trading, not because it magically makes you more profitable, but because it removes discretion from the moments when discretion is dangerous. When you have a detailed pre-session routine, you reduce the number of impulsive decisions you make in real time. You're not deciding whether to trade that asset you already decided in your prep, you're just waiting for the conditions you already defined. Equally important, do you have a recovery protocol? What do you do after a losing day? After 2 consecutive losing days? Most traders have no plan. They either push harder and compound the loss, or they freeze. Neither is a recovery strategy. A recovery protocol might look like, after 2 red days in a row, I drop to half position size. After 3 red days, I don't trade for 24 hours. After hitting 50% of my monthly drawdown, I stop trading for the rest of the month. These aren't punishments. They are survival mechanisms. The Propfirm challenge has hard rules that force you to stop when you hit certain limits. Build those same rules into your own internal framework before the firm enforces them by closing your account. Let me bring this home. The Propfirm challenge is designed to test whether you can follow rules under pressure for a short window of time. The funded account tests something much harder, whether you can trade with discipline, consistency, and emotional control indefinitely with no finish line, no guaranteed reward, and real psychological consequence for every mistake. Most traders are not prepared for that transition. Not because they aren't smart, not because they don't know how to trade, but because they were never taught the behavioral side of this game. And if you found this valuable, share it with a trader you know who's either preparing for a funded account or struggling with one right now. This is exactly the conversation the trading community needs more of. Take care of your process, the profits take care of themselves.